last one. But, you know, they didn't believe her anyway, so it's fine. Zordon says it's now time to morph, and by standing on the footprints, they will activate the morphing grid, connect with each other, and don their armor. And, finally, so the Rangers can't actually learn. But for whatever reason, the morphing grid requires them to have a bond with each other first. They need to shed their masks. Whatever that Alpha monster, so the team still need to go into training regardless of the fact that politics to the pit where they simulate holographic views of the biggest then they instead of actual patty, and they've dropped the entire turkey motif. I think they still would have worked. Would have made them scarier if they were these big rock monsters still doing the little like whoa thing the entire night. No, that's just me. The team trains with the patties, with Alpha, and just further for what this. And Trini plays something, although that seems to be a Krispy Kreme donut. Yeah, a little Krispy Kreme reference there. Maybe a little bit of subtle product placement, who knows? Krispy Kreme. Alpha then teaches them a little move where they slip out of the way, grab their hands, and flip their fast. Probably just another word for ends with Billy obsessing over the location of the Zeo crystal, finding its location buried beneath a Krispy Kreme. Yeah, okay, Krispy Kreme partnered with Power Rangers for this, and the Zeo crystal, the MacGuffin of the whole movie, lies beneath it. What can only imagine? I'm seeing it. It's still right here. The retrospect. Be fooling. Anita Hope then talks about a lolz killer running rampant through Angel Grove. So, as a precautionary measure, Alpha 5 introduces the team to the Zords.
They take on the form and most powerful thing on the planet.
Just for the doctor but we'll focus on that later when we get a better look at them. You know, I really like what this film did in explaining why the Zords look like dinosaurs, saying that they're alien tech that took the form of the strongest being on Earth when they got there. Those were dinosaurs at the time. You don't presume that the picture, like any others, in existed at the same time as T-Rex, pterodactyl, and Triceratops. Otherwise, it implied that all of these Zords landed on Earth at different points in time. And I mean, like, millions of years apart. Zack hijacks his Zord, crashes it back into the pit, which results in him and Jason getting into a real fist fight. Billy's concerned for them both, so tries to break it up, and with some clear compassion for the pair of them, both of his guns, both in the nature of the huge achievement for the team, but Billy isn't able to hold the form for very long. Zordon then chimes in from the complete ether and tells them to either all morph again or essentially get the fuck out. Alpha saying they respond to the movement and regain his physical solidity. Rightly so, Jason kicks off and says, look, whether you like it or not, we're the ones the morphing grid chose. And it is the day. Meanwhile, we could as well be an entire jewelry store and recreate her gold staff using the gold, including what also seems to be a half of the he then starts eating gold, melting gold, and being an absolute alien pervert with gold. Before then, he took his gun and placing the green light on the inside of the tower and blowing up the entire building. There are at least 4 people in that building, a couple looking at rings, the cashier, and a police officer. They're not surviving Rip. Damn. The character of Rita is very weird so far. I love the Green Ranger lore, but the very few moments we've had with her have shown her to be this animalistic, raging creature, when we know at some point she was somewhat sane enough to be a fucking Power Ranger. Maybe 65 million years under the water changes you mentally. Maybe, who knows? Back with the Rangers, they're all sat around a campfire getting to know each other, both making fun of Zordon and opening up about their lives. He says that he used to go to the mine with his dad before he passed, but since going there with the team, he hasn't missed him as much. He also loves country music, and the reason he was in detention is because he blew up his lunchbox. Kimberly, for whatever, and Jason says because everything knows who he is, whether he likes it or not. They know his achievements, and they know his screw-ups. Trini says her family moves family don't accept her. She is, alluding to the fact that they're not standing with her. This basically something that's like menial information, partly like fill the cards out a little bit, but it results in Trini asking, like, after all this is done, are we just Power Rangers or are we friends as well? And I will say, you know, the teenagers that have to stuff from MMPR, they weren't like, they were good kids. There was no I like this. Just out past was, but then we're seeing these different traits to the characters. Billy being on the spectrum, Trini being gay, so so far, but you know, I like what they've tried to do, at least with Billy and Trini. I like immediately after we get a scene straight out of a horror film where Rita appears above Trini in bed, threatening to kill her and all of the other Rangers. She then activates what seems to be left of the Green Ranger powers to form armor over her body, telling Trini that she will spare her life if in return she finds out where the Zeo crystal is and then joins her afterwards. I mean, this is a great scene. It implies that Rita Repulsa has some sort of omniscient powers to let her know that Trini is the other Ranger. What do you know yellow? Is maybe power coins linked to a degree, maybe? I don't know. Surely at that point they'd always know where Rita is now. If we're going away, we get away to Kimberly sneaking into Jason's bedroom. He tells him that he thinks she's the reason they can't morph because she hasn't been honest with him. She then shows Jason the nude that she sent of Amanda, and they have a heart-to-heart about how doing a horrible act doesn't make you a horrible person. I think she could have spared Jason the nude, personally. You've done the damage, doesn't mean you just start flapping around willy-nilly. What's most interesting about the scene is what is it's in the trailer. We don't know why they cut it. I imagine it got backlash online. I don't feel like and then we'll just cut that bit out. It kind of doesn't make up for anything in the film. Like, there's nothing else throughout the film that implies Jason and Kimberly like each other that way. Cutting it doesn't really do a lot. In fact, he tells them the destruction of Angel Grove will begin at dawn, so Jason leaps. And despite his hatred of Angel Grove, his hatred for Zordon at this point, and for the context, let's go with less killing. A really pivotal moment for Jason, who still does believe that being a Power Ranger is a lot of rubbish, but has enough evidence to suggest it is now their responsibility to do the right thing. They meet with Rita, resulting in a complete arse whooping, leaving them tied to the side, which is the location of the Zeo crystal, and she knows that Billy knows. Well, I feel like the story, as I said, she knows that Billy knows and begins torturing Zach to get the info from him until is buried beneath this Krispy Kreme. She goes off to find it. Not before killing Billy. She literally dropped Billy to the bottom of the sea and leaves him there. The Rangers also forcing the ropes into the shop. They finally managed to find Billy. It's too late. It's a very emotional scene, soundtrack to a cover of Ben E. King's Stand By Me. The team carry Billy back to Zordon's ship and plead for help. Zordon says there is no way to help. What followed is honestly a beautiful scene where Jason says it's all his fault and that he would trade his life for Billy's in an instant. And they were like, what? I would trade my life for you guys. And then Trini says, so was I. Kimberly says, so would I. And they have that sort of conclusion that this isn't the end and they still need to be free. So that just like Billy didn't die for nothing. Kimberly takes someone to the lead. And they now have to kill Rita in honor of Billy before the morphin grid begins to open up. Zordon disappears, believed to have stepped through the grid, before reappearing in the ship's hold and saying, after Billy coughing up water and being resurrected. The team have an adorable moment with each other, with Zordon officially handing off leadership and the role as Red Ranger. One of, if not the best scenes in this film. Fully come to terms with the relationship they had with each other and how important friendship is, which then allowed for Zordon's sacrifice, completing his arc for the film in realizing the power coins in fact did seek those who were worthy, and the morphin grid is truly never wrong. Except for the Yeah, agree. That feels in poor taste now that I think about it. Generally though, we'll fully break down these characters later, but Billy has had the biggest role this entire time. First of all, being the reason then being the most determined to be a hero, then being the first to morph, then fighting the secret, before ultimately being the reason why the team connects to the grid. Which, speaking of, I think, finally, it's morphin' time. After 3/4 of the film's runtime, the Power Rangers have united for the third act. Real putties are created from snow, and the team rise to the surface to fight them off, debuting their new suits in style and Jason's power suit. The fight goes on for about 2 minutes before the classic Power Rangers line of "there's too many of them" is whipped out, resulting in Zack escalating the battle with his Mastodon Zord to finish them off. A pretty fun action scene, horrifically short-lived. Meanwhile, Rita's at a quarry where she uses her powers to extract more gold from the earth, creating a 100-foot-tall monster called Goldar. Goldar is no longer a humanoid griffin with gold armor. He is just a sludgy kaiju of gold. Perhaps the biggest downgrade in cinema history. And he doesn't even speak. Kerrigan Mahan, his voice was the best part about Goldar, realistically. It was iconic. The team celebrate their win against the putties, but Billy alerts them all to Goldar heading toward Uncut Raw. Their visors and mouthguard disintegrate. I don't know what sort of practical advantage this has for them inside the universe. I'd like to think they can see pretty clearly when the visors are on. However, from a production standpoint, I can see why they want to do it. Because you want to show the pretty faces, the pretty actors you spent a pretty little penny on, and you actually want to see them in the film. I get it. This was actually a concept that existed in the original movie, where they but deliberately so we could actually see the actors. An idea that I'm really glad they scrapped. And whilst it worked a little more in the scenario, I think that's half the fun of a suit, you know? And yes, don't worry, I have many opinions on these suits, but there's a section later. There's a section coming up later. With Rita headed towards Angel Grove, the team rush to their Zords. Some sort of biomechanical seatbelt system locks them in, and 2 alien tech controllers hover towards their hands. And for the first time in the whole movie,
Go, Power Rangers!
that is badass. I remember the hype in the cinema when they played that. That is not just a new theme that they've created for this film. That is the same theme song from the 1995 movie. It's the Mighty Morphin theme in its orchestral cinematic glory. Billy accidentally pilots his Zord backwards, which is supposed to be a haha, silly Billy moment, but I'm more impressed by the fact the rest of them are piloting them forward. Of course, the explanation in MMPR was always that they found it to be second nature, implying that the power coins or the morphing grid itself projects the knowledge into them on how to pilot these Zords. I mean, especially with these suits, I mean, they seem to have the morphing grid actually running through them the entire time, so it makes a bit more sense. So to address the elephant in the room, beginning of the Zord scene is soundtracked to Power by Kanye West. His pose was fitting at the time, and it is aged like milk. Yeah, that's the movie. They blend into the world pretty seamlessly, and there's a lot of that iconic destructive action we know and love, even giving us a pre-Hasbro acquisition Transformer reference. Jason's dad did him when he gets into a car accident. Jason notices and is able to save him, giving them a sweet moment together where he doesn't actually know something. I think this is not like you have the impression like, oh, and I think it still minds him of his son, that type of deal. Kimberly flies Billy, dropping him onto Goldar as he activates some form of energy pulse that knocks Goldar down and hits Rita, causing her to bleed green blood and it's much sweat. Goldar gets back up and nurses Rita back to health by using Gold. He manages to uncover the Zeo Crystal, and the team form a line in front of it and do whatever they can to hold Goldar back. He literally sets the squeeze over on the back and pushes it down and holds the crystal. The Fire Rangers are literally prepared to die fighting for their planet. They disappear into the fiery pit. But of course, anyone who's watched an episode of Power Rangers knows that before the Zords are out of action, they can combine. And as they're pushed into the pit, the Zords start to spin, and through the fire and flames, the Megazord is stolen. It screams out half the time that he becomes a ranger. The Zords never actually did that. I'm a big fan of the theory that, in fact, the Zords never did that before. As we know, the Zords took the form of the strongest being on the planet at the time, which were dinosaurs. But when they were about to die, the strongest being on the planet at the time was Goldar. So both with each other in a way to create the Megazord, to match Goldar to make sure they could fight the strongest being on the planet. Whether that's confirmed at all, whether that's theories that, you know, people have as well. I don't know. It does look awful. Either way, again, a section in the video is coming up on that. It looks ass, but, you know, the theory's still cool. Rita then goes inside the Goldar. The film never really explains why. My guess is that she sort of piloted him at that point, or maybe it's protection. The Megazord falls over because they don't know how to control it, but they instantly get the hang of it and begin boxing with Goldar. And designs aside, they truly nail the depiction of like scale of the pair, using lots of low angle shots to really ground the action. Though I'll never understand the obsession these films have with crash zooms, especially when they won't see three giants. And so Goldar generates a gold sword, but the team used their training from the pit to do the old slip, grab, flip maneuver. Foreshadowing at its finest. They then use the pterodactyl wings as swords to finish off Goldar for good. Rita slimes out of him, absolutely fuming, yelling about how others will come. Jason tells her to hand in her coin and staff and to come with them so that Zordon can figure out what to do with her. She then jumps at them, resulting in another full circle foreshadowing moment as the Megazord slaps her into outer space.
Did you just slap her? I did. Weird, right?
As the movie theme plays, civilians come out of hiding, staring up at this giant alien machine. All sprout a few very familiar faces. Yeah, honestly, Jason Davis found an excellent cast. What a cute little cameo. She really makes the message. Jason returns our sword back with a chip, not saying goodbye to Zordon and Alpha, but instead see you later. Looking at all the shots, the sword was definitely always there in that little like docking station, but the film never brought attention to it at all, other than this like one scene with Jason like jumping over the putty and using it in that fight. According to IGN, originally there was a King Arthur style plot where only they who should be worthy could use the sword. Something that was never cut. Team catch up to family now that the day is saved poetry and attention, including bringing that. Here's Zordon voicing their names for build out and bring peace. I've lived in many Ranger teams before. Kimberly creates a little lightning bolt logo that the team toss around the room, officially branding themselves as the Power Rangers. And that was the 2017 Power Rangers reboot movie. This is truly a weird movie. I've always been a huge defender of it because I thoroughly enjoyed it when I watched it on opening weekend. I thoroughly enjoyed my first rewatch of it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it when I rewatched it for the sake of this video. But sometimes you do have to play devil's advocate and ask yourself, why? Because fundamentally, it's not a very true Power Ranger movies you've seen. In terms of I've seen into the movie quite frequently in the last couple of years, it's Dracula. I assume there was content. So Topher Florence tweeted the following. Back in the day, if you did a TV show called Surf Dracula, you'd see that fool surfing every week in new adventures. But in the streaming era, the entire first season got to be a long-ass flashback to how he got the surfboard until you finally get to see him surf for 5 minutes in the finale. And that is literally what happens in this movie. The entire film is 2 hours and 4 minutes long. And that includes the end credits and the opening title and everything like that. And they morph at the 1 hour 30 mark. Sure, we got the opening sequence with Zordon and Rita, plus the quick scene with Billy at exactly the halfway mark, 1 hour 2 minutes, but the actual Power Rangers, especially the Black and Pink Ranger, were only seen at the 3rd act mark. During Kimberly and Trini's donut fight in the Krispy Kreme, they were actually meant to gain some like sort of half armor on their arms due to like their bond growing, hence why they both immediately hide their arms under the table. Zack also has a deleted scene where he sits on a lamppost and watches what seems to be one of Rita's attacks in the distance, falling off but morphing on his way down. Jason, unless they did shoot a scene that they never released in any of the BTS deleted scene sections, he never got that. He never morphed until the exact point in the film where he did morph. For all intents and purposes, this film was structured like a Power Rangers pilot episode. The team get together, learn of the bad guy, get their suits, fight the bad guy, get into their Zords, form the Megazords, epilogue. Except it is usually within a 22-minute episode and there's more action. I do really enjoy the time we spend with these characters, getting to learn who they are, getting to respond with them as they bond with each other. I cannot feel like there is a stage arc. It's me like what Power Rangers has always done with Adapt and Sentai. I mean, give us like 40-minute episodes at a time, get rid of the bonding to morph aspect, have them more tempo, have them kind of those fights, have them learn to trust each other and to be friends with each other and to bond with each other in that way. Maybe that's then how they can form the Zords down the line or something like that. I don't really know how that would work. I personally think the time we spent getting to know them proves it. By the time they work, we feel like we know these characters. As a result, okay. And that was with the Megazord, would still be the same tracker, but at least you'd see the Power Rangers in action. I mean, let's hope the Disney Plus show figures a way around that. A lot of people compare this movie to The Breakfast Club with the way in which they depict each character and their relationships with each other, especially the defense. I am like, no, The Breakfast Club is like, I'm tapping on my arm, and the day this film released was March 24th, 2017, and the day the Breakfast Club were in detention was March 24th, 1984, exactly 33 years prior to this film's release. This channel is not far off from 50,000 subscribers, and our friend 3D Gel Printing has sent us this, saying, open when you reach 50,000 subscribers. I haven't opened it. I refuse to open it until we hit it. It's every single day. Curiosity is getting the better of me, and I need to see what is inside this. My guesses are it's another one of these, which is the lovely custom play buttons that he's also sent us as gifts before. I wanted to see if you fancy helping me out. If you would like to know what is in this as well, drop a subscribe. Let's talk about the characters. We'll start with the Rangers least prominent to most prominent, because yeah, despite this being a film about 5 Rangers, the writers definitely have some favourites. Zach is the Ranger I feel we spend the least amount of time with. On the outside, he's written as the ragtag goofy guy with little to no fears, but as we learn throughout the film, he actually has a big heart, especially when thinking about his unwell mother. Having Zach living in a caravan or trailer park is something I wish we explored a little more, as we only ever saw him inside the caravan when he was there. I believe Zach to be some form of second in command in the original show, and that kind of shows up in this rendition, but mainly in the form of both Jason and Zach having that alpha male complex with each other during the fight scene. His comedic timing was great throughout the film, which complemented his carefree nature. I just wish we had more time to spend with this version of him. He's also not a dancer, which, you know, not the biggest problem, I guess, but that was always a really fun element of Zach's character in the original show. Trini's up next, having a little more involvement than Zach, but still not as much as the others. I love the no-nonsense side to her, but you can also see that she's someone who keeps her walls up so she doesn't get hurt. There's a recurring gag in the film that everyone thinks her name is Dee Dee, even having Rita Repulsa call her it, though it seemed to be a little bit more of a rage bait. By the end of the movie though, Billy's mother calls her Dee Dee, but Billy corrects her immediately, proving that after many years she's finally found somewhere that she fits in. Trini was also the first to pave the pathway for Power Rangers being gay. Whilst it wasn't really delved into beyond one line, in my opinion, Trini walked so Fern and Izzy could fly. I'm pretty sure that this rendition of Trini is also the first ever openly gay superhero in cinema, and that is pretty cool. I also love Trini's style throughout this entire film. At number 3 we have Kimberly, who in my opinion was part of the big 3 of this movie, which were Kim, Billy and Jason. Kimberly was probably my least favourite Ranger in this movie, I can't lie. It is nothing on Naomi Scott. I think she did a fantastic job, but out of everyone's backstory and character arcs, I feel hers were just bad. She doesn't have any discernible personality traits outside of being the popular girl gone rogue. The whole sharing of the nude pic was such a weird story for her, along with punching that guy's tooth out. Like, at no point do I feel like she was a nice person to be around, you know? Even after she confessed to Jason and the team carried Billy to the ship, Kim stood out the least amongst everybody who made claims that they'd trade their lives for each other. It's a real shame as well, because Kimberly was great in the show. Sure, she started off with some stereotypical popular girl tropes, but she was always a great team player who grew into a solo hero of her own. It's especially sad that Zach and Trini got such less screen time when Kimberly had little to no story arc. In second place, for most favoured by the writing team, surprisingly is Jason, despite most Power Rangers and Sentai shows focusing on the Red Ranger. Jason was a pretty standard take on the 2010s teenage hero. He's the school's star athlete who gets thrown in with the type of people he'd never hang out with. The way he protected Billy in detention was peak cinema, don't get me wrong, but it takes Billy dying for Jason to actually give a shit about him. I like how Jason was more open-minded than the others about being Rangers, especially when deciding to come back a second time, and I do appreciate the way he grew into the role of leader. He wasn't afraid to call out Zordon on his narcissism and manipulation, and by the end I do believe he deserved to wear the color red, despite the mistakes he made. And again, that slap is beautiful. And finally, the character that very clearly steals the show, Billy. This was a win for me both at 14 years old and 22 years old, because Billy is my favourite character both in MMPR and in this movie. He has the most growth out of all of them, literally starting the film with 0 friends and despising hugs, and ending the film giving his best friend the biggest bear hug I've ever seen. The joint storyline about him trying to deal with his father's passing, but not quite knowing how to feel because he's on the spectrum, made for the most perfect story arc where he ends up finding comfort through the team. He was also hilarious, and his excitement for being a Ranger was awesome. He gave off the energy of Cisco Ramon in Flash.
Like a more like Iron Man or Spider-Man. Oh, I knew it! We do get over it. Okay, let's go! Let's go! We're like one big sword, like a mama sword. No, that sounds lame. A mega sword! You guys don't get the... I got it, buddy.
While there is plenty of room for improvement, I have such a soft spot for this cast, and I really wish we got to see more stories told with them. Then of course you have Rita Repulsa, very different to a TV show counterpart, and not the most favourable adaptation of Rita amongst fans. As I said earlier, making her the original Green Ranger makes complete and utter sense both in this timeline and in the original timeline. Honestly, I wish part of the final fight was Rita unlocking the coin's full power and donning the full suit again, though I imagine they originally wanted to save that for Tommy Oliver in the sequel. Elizabeth Banks did do a pretty good job, though Rita was the most tonally inconsistent character for me. She began as this utter demon who would run around killing people for gold, only for the end result to be, in fairness, more like classic Rita with the screaming and the whining. But going from ripping a guy's jaw out to strangling a Krispy Kreme just doesn't pay itself off. I do like one of her outfits in black. Can't quite say the same about the armor. It's definitely cool. I just do wish it became the full Green Ranger armor at some point. He's not really a character in this, but as an extension of Rita, Goldar is absolutely else. The design is horrible, and I don't know what possessed them to think that making Goldar a literal gold monster was a good idea, and especially when the OG Goldar is so iconic. Fun fact though, for the few noises and sort of grunts that Goldar did make, it was voiced by Ted Tatascio, I apologize if I've mispronounced that name, who also did the sounds for the putties in this, and he voiced lolzz in Cosmic Fury. So that's pretty cool. I like their take on Zordon in this rendition. I think his wall pin face design is flawed, but taking away the idea that Zordon actively chose teenagers to be Power Rangers makes him more favourable as a mentor. He was no doubt an awful mentor, and I can't imagine what type of leader he was back in the Mesozoic era. That of course said, he did sacrifice himself to stop Rita way back when, and he passed up on the chance to be free again to save Billy, which is very admirable, and if anything, a step closer to the wise figure we know he should be. I do wonder what this weird wall was for before Zordon got uploaded to it. Like, surely this is the, like, in case someone dies, or, do you know what I mean? Maybe it was. Just like Rita, I love that he was the Red Ranger before Jason, though his monologue at the end does imply more Rangers came before him. His physical design was fine, nothing too complex, though I still don't know why bro is naked. I also love how they filmed the Zordon head scene. Just Bryan Cranston in like an office room with a blue screen. Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Whilst we're chatting about Zordon, I want to briefly mention the Yellow Ranger from his team. Nothing was ever confirmed, but there were many theories that this alien was actually an equation from Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. They don't look exactly alike, but the shape of her head kinda looks similar, especially when seeing some of the purple and orange colouring bits in these BTS photos. Also something I didn't know, the woman who works in the jewellery store that Rita Repulsa robs is the same person who played the alien. That's a cool bit of double casting. Alpha 5 is perhaps the most bizarre adaptation in the movie. I actually really don't mind his design. The blinking light eyes at the side of his head are great for expression, and he seems to have some sort of morphing grid energy surging through him, especially in the centre of his head. Obviously we don't know if he was built on Miranoi in this universe or if Zordon built him, but his ability to stretch his arms out and hold his own against the Rangers is a fun take on our automaton. Which technically he isn't even a fully sentient multifunctional automaton in this, and instead he's a
Malformic locate persona android.
I still can't quite get around his voice. That is just Bill Hader. Though fair play to him for getting involved in the motion capture, although he doesn't seem that into the film in any of the interviews.
Right. Space in the wall. That guy's cool. Jordan. And then Alpha 5 is alright. And then Rita Repulsa is pretty badass. There's dinosaurs. What else do you want?
Aye, aye, aye.
There's not much to say about them, but Amanda, Harper, and Bully, like, they were
2005, Chad wrote an email saying, "We need to start being diligent and injecting copyrighted/inappropriate content. We are getting serious child exploitation. I don't want this to be killed by potentially bad experience." We can then run a lot of this work in the flagging systems. Point something that really everybody wants the content being uploaded to the platform. However, Ken's response to this was completely different than what Chad expected. While some of the CNN sees it, he happens to be someone with power. He happens to want to take it down right away. You get in touch with CNN legal. Get a cease and desist down and just everybody can get all that. When it comes However, Jowett Bloom stepped in to offer a more suitable solution. On August 10th, like the scene at Space Open. This was Jowell's way of steering clear of any of the copyright infringement claims by movie production houses like Warner Bros. Unfortunately, this didn't work out for his game. On June 15, 2005, YouTube received its first copyright complaint. The founders were in trouble. Chad explained his strategy on his previous email by stating that they'll just take down the videos whenever they get cease and desist orders from lawyers. If not, they'll keep it. 5,000 uploaded and serving 8 million videos a day. The site was hemorrhaging money. It was the earliest area of that is when the June of 72 yeah. Google, which was actually back then and today it's operating very low so we bought it for $1.65 billion. The platform had been online for just 18 months at this point, and it marked one of the most important moments in internet history. That Google wasn't completely unaware that copyright issues and legal problems and potential lawsuit matters. Yeah, Google developed with fully aware of Google's copyright issues. In fact, Google lawyers identified over 100,000 irrevocable settlements in this what Google didn't know is that lawsuits were instantly. 6 months after buying YouTube, Viacom, Movie Giant, and Comedy Central, MTV, and Nickelodeon filed the $1 billion lawsuit against content entirely. The lawsuit ended damning internal communications. Viacom's lawyers were the ones who presented emails showing YouTube executives actively seeking their copyrighted content. The most damning resolution was the law. Chose not to remove it because the content cited. 2010, after years of battling, the judge in the case ruled in favor. Material being uploaded, they had no idea which scripts were being uploaded with the right permissions and which one. Whoever choose Mark heard the case and once again was in favor of YouTube. Finally, in 2014, Viacom and Google announced the case was settled out of court, but YouTube was not in the clear. Next up, Premier League decided they would make this deal. Suddenly, YouTube fell in love with Amazon as the fronts of billion-dollar media companies then reached the fundamental changes to how the platform operated. Facing potential bankruptcy and lawsuits, Google needed the system fundamental steps. And instead of simply removing copyrighted content will be through copyright owners' choices. Block it, track it, block it, This is a huge content instead of just writing. So after a couple of months, the Content ID system launched a beta to select media companies like Time Warner, CBS, Walt Disney, and others. But this wasn't a simple content detection system. This gave select companies unprecedented power over YouTube's content and could do unlimited things with it. If you were one of the extremely few top creators in the latest points, the fact that YouTube had today, CMS was created for Sony Entertainment. Timestamp data shows this happened in January 2007, months before Content ID was even announced, revealing that Google was secretly working with major media companies behind the scenes. CMS access was completely shrouded in secrecy. Google handpicked which companies could access the system, giving them godlike powers over without needing to be reviewed or meet any of the subscriber and watching requirements. This feature still exists today. If you look at just getting content detection tools, we're getting directors. You also choose its visibility, public, unlisted, private. Most users pick up listed rather than private, and they want to share their videos largely. This problem. If anyone can figure out your video's ID, they can find and walk inside the question too. So how does that first the second gets number 2 is 1. YouTube then puts this number to number 9. Now, this is how it works. It'll ring a 1 which quickly shows up as works. We want to 2 to 8. Then he made discovery we could generate every possible video ID with a system. The very this to if you're going to turn 1, 2, 3, 4 into these IDs with a hard-coded directly into the source code. And anyone who could read this code, contractors, employees, and potentially anyone else. Picture. Generate all of the corresponding video IDs and find every single video, including unlisted videos. Use the exact same algorithm for generating not just video IDs but also user IDs. This is really it's the same result. You could potentially uncover valid video IDs by analyzing user IDs or other publicly visible identifiers, and some of these video IDs will never be although old user IDs can sometimes still be found in the Wayback Machine. But YouTube made an even bigger mistake with the cause an ID system to understand the every asset with the same exact same algorithm has video IDs. This means the first asset group has the same identity. This group is especially this CMS confers the IDs into the graph to the assets to be mapped. Anyone with a CMS access could potentially uncover vast numbers of video IDs either in and in case you hear the system, all the old assets that were created during this period kept their original ID. But all the reasons associated with all these videos, the company eventually made a disaster decision. Private state starting July 23rd, 2021, essentially making millions of videos accessible even to people who had the original links because those things would no longer work. This change would also affect videos. However, you can choose to opt out of this update as film. It would switch your videos back to legacy unlisted, which meant the original legacy links would continue to work, but it meant those videos would still be affected by the vulnerability. Then, in 2008, the true power of the CMS was first seen when Warner put into the test. They decided to use their newfound power to hold all their music from YouTubers from showing creators just how much this wasn't just about music rights. Anything that was technical. Videos found their content suddenly accessible. After just weeks, Warner quietly restored their content and when they wanted. Corporations now had more power over YouTube content than the creators themselves. So while creators panicked about this creators and the system that were destroyed it. That's exactly what they did. In YouTube's early days, becoming a partner meant earning money from your videos, and it was nearly impossible. The application process took months years to keep many templates channel. Partners received exclusive features like custom thumbnails, longer uploads, and analytics. Everyone wanted to but earning money from videos they were creating was appealing to every single creator. But they couldn't. YouTube was slow to process the applications of these So what did they do? They were already partners and started to offer other people to come under their umbrella. This model became known as the multi-channel network, or the MCN. Launched in 2007, next to the networks launched a show. They pitched themselves as the new TV networks for the digital age, but their real business in 2009, Baker Studios came out. Baker Studios launched an impressive roster of YouTube celebrities and a different approach. Instead of just aggregating channels, they promised to provide production support, promotion, and potential partners. This is providing direct access to your website's lending system. This means access. Of course, but it's still not few individuals who abuse this power into millions of dollars. In 2010, Machinima, originally a gaming website, pivoted to become the most powerful MC. Machinima franchise earning toilets for the inside. On the face of it, everything seemed perfect. Creators could instantly become part of the program. 50% of something versus 100% nothing. Hidden to define limits, clauses that protect them from every angle. Creators had to sign away their rights to their perpetuity, meaning they could never leave the network without being a channel. Contracts were so this would be due to their CNs. Some people saw an opportunity to start companies around, and some had existing relationships with YouTube who were happy to others have never had the CMS access to scratch. They didn't all start MCNs because of their existing CMS access. CMS access was incredibly valuable, and entrepreneurs found ways to monetize that power. For example, it's their founder of the former YouTube executive, George Stevens, who had literally created the partner program to He would sign up thousands of small creators and make money through sheer scale. They offered same-day partnerships when YouTube's official process took months. This led to thousands of channels becoming monetized partners and tons of content. First thing in Google will be accepted to the network. Of course, this was a huge problem. Dollars to be spent. Now, the normal thing would have been for YouTube to fix this issue, or at least put some restrictions on them. Jumped on the bandwagon because they knew how much. The beginning of YouTube, CMS supplies are incredibly rare and valuable. It's estimated that only around 1,000 people the ones who had a CMS access on the instant payment video. YouTube monetized paying content automatically. You probably whoever against them. Except this was because the manual claiming to be part of the CMS used to issue a copyright strike did not go through a validation process. On the other hand, the public function something we assign creators to contracts and users still has access to apparently protect those creators' content and direct or which wasn't available to everyone. These benefits were clearly appealing people with the masses. Much more money. It is a no-brainer. However, most of the users, or almost all of them, had no CMS access to abuse every single power they had. This doesn't mean they weren't aware of how big companies have access to more powerful tools. They just didn't know the extent of this power. Because of that, we never told Many large requirements that sounded too good to be true. No locking contracts and same-day partnerships. Their marketing was targeted directly at creators trapped in abusive MCN contracts. For Freedom's real innovation, some networks These subnetworks weren't all to the same ability as CMS, which meant that Google did not vet them. So they had all the power to freedom CMS part of the subnetwork model exploded. Businesses trying creators, others will expand shopping. They acquired movie studios for $450 million. The acquisition revealed just how valuable Odyssey is now. Baker Studios was $5 million. Now, with their access to Disney's entry into the MCU space also ignored their turning point. Traditional media companies realized they need to control not just but they do creator with over 550,000 subscribers today, who fell victim to one of the most notorious contract jobs in YouTube history. On May 22nd, MCN run by CEO Alex Edson, operating under CL Labs' umbrella. The initial deal seemed reasonable. Kevin Feige had just 30 days notice of it. Yeah, but that's when Alex Edson revealed his true strategy. In August 2016, Alex called Kevin on Skype to discuss signing When Kevin received the contract, he discovered something since it was not a 12-month contract, rather it was a contract with 12-month term and he started in other words, you could be trapped for years and the countdown to freedom only began when solid. The contract specific rating promising Power TV would fully pay for animators and it wouldn't affect Kevin's 90-10 split in his favor. There was just one catch. Power TV could get 10% equity in Kevin's channel if he ever sold it. To secure this equity arrangement, Alex required that was able to personally clear the animators and promising just much time. Then, in October 2016, Alex revealed his true intention. In a Skype company, favor and his investment was recouped. Then 7 third request 10% permanent. Kevin Preston to Power TV, but Alex refused. Alex then made several more offers, ultimately settling on 63. But Kevin Alex and Kevin contract for the confidentiality clause. All details on this solution after a lot of was 2 waves. But Alex wasn't tough. He removed Kevin's opponent's space. Shot the total of his pages thinking Kevin would be on Kevin tried everything to escape. He contacted Scale Labs' CEO and COO. It's not in Scale Labs' policy to keep people locked against their will, but said they couldn't force Alex to release him. He contacted YouTube creator support, citing their own policies about MCNs onboarding and releasing channels in line with their contracts. YouTube said they'd take the time to action, but they never did. Kevin even reached out to prominent YouTube bloggers Ryan Morrison and Mike Lee, but the one comment is beyond his means of struggle. Looking those basically was the entire business model. MCNs like how David Swift built an alignment with His official position is that these were private business disputes. They wouldn't intervene, even when MCNs were clearly violating their own published best practices. The system of digital indentured servitude trapped thousands of creators in contracts they couldn't escape, while the MCNs holding all the power and creators having virtually no recourse. The subnetwork launched the accountability nightmare.
The battle for Gontalgrim is nearly. You've rescued many of the dwarves.
Middlemen
Still may be some missing.
system without any.
We'll let you know when we discover where.
Itself. They function under the umbrella of large MCNs, which you have no way to monitor their behavior, enforce standards, or ensure they were created. This created a pyramid-like structure where one MCN could have hundreds of subnetworks, each managing thousands
Dwarves
of
can rest
their
a
own
little.
terminal.
You know
The
anything
scale
about
was
me,
ridiculous.
that I always finish the job.
2014,
In this
Freedom
case,
alone had
I want to make
400 subnetworks with over
Ah,
100,000 channels. Each subnetwork could set its own revenue splits, contract terms, and operational practices, all while leveraging freedom CMS access and partner program status. The lack of accountability was the fundamental problem YouTube had to address. Subnetwork could trap creators. All networks who have any legal relationship with them or ability. Most are to realize the control bodies unaccountable subnetwork operators, and they act decisively. June 5th of 2016, YouTube announced that all subnetworks was shut down by May 22nd, giving just a 17 days notice. The announcement sent shockwaves to the industry as hundreds of subnetworks. Without monetization partners whatsoever. Videos from this period show the pain. Users desperately trying to understand what happens in the terms, the monetization, and their revenue. Some have don't really understand. With some contractors called some request directly. Once a creator submitted a link request, MCN had just 30 days to respond. So first we had moved on. There's new populated still tested your life. I obtained the worst MCN that uses the platform. April 28th. It's called first news but MCN had over 50 abuse events, such as channels getting terminated for losing monetization within a 90-day period. They would lose their ability to partner new channels, and multiple violations to work with the brand. Violate or even commit those crimes. Manually reviewing every single April 2018, the creators began receiving devastating emails from their MCNs. Unfortunately, the role was the director of creative marketing accidentally revealed true companies. YouTube is forcing all network to terminate creative that are at risk of violating terms of service. This isn't the leaked message confirmed. What they expect service, even with those directly present but released. Creators are being dropped not for what they had done, but for what YouTube's algorithms predicted they may do in the future. Justin Rabbit, one of the dropped creators, have never received a single strike on his channel. My channel has never been struck by any blogging either since I started it. I obey every rule YouTube puts out, he told Polygon. It did not matter. But no YouTube's small creators effectively shutting those mouth entirely. The 100,000 views per month is a threshold set by TV to limit the number of channels to follow. An honest NCM manager captured the ministry of inspiration. Was trying to get the NCMs that want channels, it gives YouTube a bad name. MCNs need YouTube. It's an insane time to be at an MCN. Controlled millions of creators and billions of dollars in revenue when they were right. Just 7 months later, one of the largest MCN collapses in YouTube history would prove their prediction horrifically accurate. History decided to near total collapse. But surely the biggest, most established MCN would weather the storm, right? After all, companies like Defy Media had real offices, real employees, and teams of millions of invested funds. But the MCN model itself was about to reveal its most devastating secrets. Defy Media was just to name a few. At their peak, they had raised over $70 billion in investor funding and managed hundreds of creators. Then, on November 6th, no one, president said the real problem was what happened. Creators, 50 independent creators discovered that $1.7 billion of their earnings had been stolen. This wasn't defined. Instead, that money was trapped in the five bank accounts now controlled by Alley Bank as part of the bankruptcy proceeding. Matt Pat from Game Theory, one of the 50 creators impacted by this, knew Defy Media intimately. He'd worked there years early as head of audience development, building relationships with Matt Pat and his wife Stephanie got on a call with one of Defy's top executives, someone Matt Pat had known for 6 years. They discussed business plans and future projects. Then the conversation turned personal. The executive asked about their newborn son Oliver, shared parenting advice, and
I have every reason to believe that when we got on that call that day, he knew that he was about his kid. But someone who saw his decency, someone who I, at the very least, saw as a friend or as a somewhat okay boss, would get on the phone and take advantage of someone he knew and someone he actively knew had just had a child.
Defy's collapse exposed the fundamental lies. These companies successful to investors. Here's how this scheme worked. Repeated sent thousands of ad revenue checks to the MCN for all their different creators. The MCN kept maybe 10 to 20% of their fees, but on paper, all that money looked like the company's revenue. They were businesses built on nothing. It was some of the bigger companies before the bottom fell out. Defy had even asked Matt Pat to delay paying their ad sets for a month. He agreed, wanted to be a good partner. He found out later that Defy had kept the money to make their books look better for investors. Disney had learned this lesson in hard way when they bought Baker Studios for $675 million, only to discover that there was actually nothing there. Now 50 creators. These sort of things change you.
They make you more cynical. They make you more angry, more depressed. You go into every meeting with someone, every all of this person is really over. How are they going to take advantage of you? You don't feel safe.
The psychological impact was devastating. Creators realized they couldn't trust anyone in the industry. Everything was stolen. Alley Bank treated the earnings of Defy's assets, prioritizing the bank's loan losses when they never belonged to Defy. Alley Bank was following classic corporate deflection. They claimed they were victims too, having lost their loan to Defy. But as Matt Pat pointed out, there's a massive difference between a bank making a calculated investment risk and creators having their earned paychecks stolen.
Put your beliefs the law. I'm sorry, it sucks, but it's true. That's the game. Us creators, meanwhile, we're not playing blackjack. Heck, we're not even in the casino. We're down the street at the ATM, except all of a sudden, one got a bill and then decides not to pay us, but continues to deduct the money from our account.
Defy's collapse was the ultimate proof that the MCN model was fundamentally broken. It was outright theft, enabled by a system that gave these intermediate middlemen too much power over creator earnings. YouTube had created a system where creators' own money could be used against them, where personal relationships could be weaponized for financial gain, and where people promised them something change. And YouTube's most significant reform is inventory. Maybe that this policy influence could no longer be if they were the absolute right to network, if they felt they were under an obligation to stay. At the same time, YouTube fundamentally changed how CMS systems work with new rules that distinguish between managed CMS and affiliate CMS accounts. Under the new policy, managed CMS accounts the only way that was the third CMS at the they could already demonstrate legal co-ownership for the channel, take full legal liability for any content ID actions, and vouch that all rights were properly licensed. For MCNs, that was a blow. Before, they could link thousands of independent channels without assuming legal responsibility. Now, it is obviously that's why most MCNs are full of the vast majority of channels manage CMS access and place them in separate affiliate CMS accounts. These affiliate CMS accounts were significantly restricted, and channels still had to qualify for the YouTube Partner Program independently before they could be claimed. This change effectively ended the era of massive MCNs operating without genuine legal responsibility and made managed CMS access a privilege only for companies with true co-ownership and legal oversight of their channels. The MCN model relationships. YouTube had learned that giving intermediaries too much power without accountability was a recipe for systematic creator abuse. YouTube's 2019 content ID itself. While YouTube had been focused on regulating the system, had been and unlike MCNs, these new threats did not need partnerships, contracts, or even real relationships with creators. All they needed was the ability to upload a file and click submit. By time processing millions of copyright claims per day. It's something to know. Instead of preventing the system without a tool. What problem is YouTube is receiving hundreds of hours of video uploads every minute, and the CMS has to scan every single second of potential copyright infringement. To understand the problem, consider what legitimate fair use looks like. A film reviewer using 30-second clips while providing commentary and analysis. A news channel showing brief results as a notification channel breaking down movie scenes to teach cinematography techniques. These are all protected uses under copyright law that attributes from being valid. But here's the fundamental. Fair use is not a simple formula. It requires human judgment considering context, purpose, and legal precedent, which is often decided case by case and sometimes even requiring court intervention. Most creators do not understand these legal complexities, yet Content ID makes it first. The system is not like not lawyers, and you cannot deny fair use of actual infringement. Even worse, the system was completely automated. Companies could upload there's nothing was a track, for example, full ownership of in that song. That's exactly what these companies with CMS access were doing. But by then, it was already too late. Content ID had evolved into something far more dangerous than any MCN. A fully automated copyright claiming machine that could be weaponized by anyone willing to game the system. And it started with gamers. December 2013, YouTube chose gaming videos and results were stopped. Thousands of gaming channels woke up to find out it's like options about their soundtracks and speaking what the policy is. Videos that kill very much like the this wasn't just restricted to music or video parts. Consumers were doing sizes. 2016, thousands of videos. The system could not distinguish anything. ordinary backgrounds. He viewed his suspension to the most crystal, and combinations of basic sounds, and using them in conjunction with meditation video live developments. Distributions are taken in Spanish, of course. For just $3.99 a year, anyone could upload video. Constant the system by using baselines and snippets. Snippet. Besides currently 350 revenue, some of the early studies I was from the ship that falls back in 2018. Fraudulent implementation. The fact that it's based on the documents of the system is the the guns are being treated as a people, not rap, computers, and networks, still. We'll try to contact YouTube. Sadly, no one did anything about this, and the scamming empires just again. Well, AdRank was another example of a similar content company. They were in black out. So yeah, and then the scale was more specifically This is popular creators on YouTube started making kinds of system to play videos that came under fair use just because they could. A huge example of this was the case of the playing concept is brief speeds with political commentary, which was technical. The primary creator calculated he lost over $8,000 in potential revenue. The internet anarchists were public with the case in Ross Mountain, social media for silence and criticism. This was not the fact the organization of conflicts father as was seen of his entire body. The copyright claim wasn't from the Faces Corporation, but another creator. Alex Edson, the new chairman of the business, had a big problem remembering. And the reason for the strikes, you might ask? A few seconds of animation, public domain images, these are images Edson the creator was just this was But doing publishing is still being organized in innovation areas of this person who documented is the development of the things with a perfect storm for the system. So I'm seeing her all down through the copyright the system. But not mind this was the massive so much fun with this. Now, you might be wondering why we do this for just giving them the we did still do our favorite thing to go. There's not specifically to protect creators from past threats. This was supposed to be a way to protect the conflict from what is the senseless. YouTube can pure fact is something crucial that most people misunderstand. We do this. Which creates an entire system. Here's how the process when you get a content ID code, you can dispute it. If the CMS company is actually disputing, you face a terrifying choice. Do nothing. Take down. These guys just leave it. Why risk being always? Here's the so also with later things, you will still be getting short of it. Still from yeah, we'll raise the drugs. We will find with them, not the state. Canada in this process requires personal details. This represents a massive breach of your privacy, especially when you know that the earning copyright was not well intentioned to begin with. You're essentially handing over everything a bad actor would need to harass or intimidate you even further. Instead, claiming parties 10 US business days to file a lawsuit against you and it is most creators can't afford a legal battle, even if they're completely right. This system sounds like YouTube deliberately favors big companies, but the reality is more it's very those copyrights to be identified or whether the uploading has been authorized. The following is the law requires that stay neutral and copyright UMC was written in 1988, long before YouTube existed. It assumes a world where copyright disputes happen between two parties of roughly power, like two record labels fighting over a song. It never anticipated a world where individual creators be facing off against billion-dollar media conglomerates armed with an automated claiming system. The legal requirement for neutrality means YouTube can't protect creators from obviously fake claims. They can't be synthesized. They can't one side is vast reward resources over the other. This creates the perverse incentive structure we see today. Content ID contains thousands of claims knowing that most will not be disputed, and the few that are disputed face an escalation process designed to skip foundation of it is a simple reality. Someone against lost control of Earth. Kevin from Minute Minecraft parodies spent months trapped in a contract designed to imprison him. Matt Pat lost money to executives who smiled while planning to steal from him. The Fat Rat was claimed for his own music by companies that had never created anything. But here's to make this story different from every other tale of corporate abuse. This wasn't happening only to them. It's happening to everyone today. Every video uploaded to YouTube enters their system. Every creative film being subscribed, whether it's beef and this video, they have the wrong it's designed to scare them to give it up. YouTube's own data proves it. 99% of content I go claims are murdered to be because they got it. The system being still is the very democracy they once promised. Today, content ID processing their copyright claims and their own controls. Each claim represents the same question. Who has the right to profit from creativity? The answer is here. The three guys in the garage achieved their dream, but the millions of creators who make YouTube valuable are still paying the price.
Take the speed of AI and pixel level control to go from words into a full website that's entirely yours to shape. Need a new page, section, or a restyle? Ask Aria, your personal AI agent. And boom, there it is. Slow down. This is the new way to create Wix Harmony.
George bought a domain from hosting, but turning it into a website is still his biggest time. Don't be like it. Build and launch your site in minutes. Hosting heuristics. Simply tell AI what you want and go live. Bring your domain to launch online at Hosting Horizons today and get 10% off with code NEXT10.
Channel. How you doing? And happy holidays, man. Even if you're not, maybe you're one of those people who's like, I don't like the holidays because me and my dad don't get along. AKA every art school girl I've ever talked to, that's their story. Oh, you going home for Christmas break? Yeah, I don't really know why. Me and my parents don't get along. It's like, well, you're so fucking jolly. That's kind of odd. But today I thought that we would go through basically the evolution of Santa, starting from what we know of his this oh my God, all the way back to its earliest conception, because when doing some research on this, you kind of find out that it's just as horrifying as anything else that we talk about on this channel. So let's talk about Santa Claus. Where'd he come from? Where's he going? Probably want to talk about where he's going. He's probably pretty much, this guy here is probably, that's probably it. Actually, that's not true. There could be something where Santa himself Christmas is a big deal. Christmas was a big deal because it was another act of faith in your life in a weird way as a child. You have the allure that people are going to give you things, but not only everyone's wearing kind of the same thing, green and red clothing. It's just a time to be jolly, and I feel like that's lost. At least maybe the old town experience. But I think it's time. And I love the big. Having like a vigilante magic man that it's like everyone just universally agrees it's okay for him to break into your house and eat cookies and drink milk because he just leaves you presents. And it's just like, you have a child. You're gonna break in and just So I just wanted to talk about all the different kinds of Santas because there's not just one, there's a lot of them. Which starts off in the 2020s, the now. This is where we're at now. We, as a society and as a human race, we are starting to do virtual Santa experiences where you can get on Zoom calls because of COVID. People now go on Zoom calls with Santa, and that's the new Santa time. So yeah, you would go to a mall, maybe you would go somewhere and there'd be a Santa, and you sit on his lap and you would ask for a gift, and he'd be like, "Oh." Now it's all just adopting older traditions. Everything's digital, and even Santa's big, soft, hot, sexy knee is divided, which also increasingly Santa is used in context for sustainability, social justice, and other contemporary issues. Depictions have appeared featuring African American Santas as well as Santas in wheelchairs. We have a Santa for everybody because back in the day, let me tell you, Santa didn't talk about any of that shit. It was just kind of like, this is the Santa, tough shit, all right? Which looking back on it now, I feel kind of guilty. That's just what he is. Are we sure? Yeah.
Cult of the eternal flame.
No room for discussion. I will sit in the wheelchair one time.
He might not be the
I get the wheelchair inclusion of like disabled people and stuff like that, but who the fuck? I mean, like what? Maybe fucking ask for some legs, dude. Don't leave that. But let's reverse the clock back
The battle for the cultist named
Turn it back
Mary.
to 2010s. High-tech Santa with advancements in technology around this time on Earth. We got Santa depicted in more high-tech scenarios, reflecting the modern world's technological progress. I mean, Santa with phones. Santa's on his sleigh no longer has stupid-ass fucking reindeer. It's like powered by jets and all kinds of shit. This is an era where everything's moving at the speed of light. The internet's getting faster. iPhone just came out. The BlackBerry's like, well, fuck. The amount of people probably asking Santa for an iPhone was probably astronomical. I never did because my name was poor. Let me tell you something. In poverty, you realize Santa is not real very quickly. Okay? Are you tired of having the same old browser time and time again? I wanted to talk about the Opera browser. Opera browser is faster, safer, and smarter than the default browsers. Fully focused on privacy, and I want you to experience distraction-free browsing with ad blocking with our friends at Opera. Some of the distinguishable features that I love with Opera are their tab islands, which the tab islands make it super easy to keep things organized. And I'm somebody who does not like having too many tabs open. It stresses me the fuck out. For real, ask my buddy Nick. But if I'm researching something, whether it's for a video or reference images for a background or character design, I can group these different tabs into groups based on context, which makes things condensed and easy to find so that you always know where things are and you never get overwhelmed, like I do very easily. I have panic attacks. Another thing that is great about Opera is the private browsing. It's got a VPN built into the browser that's free and unlimited and keeps things secure. Nice and tidy. It helps keep things running fast and ads get blocked with one click. Plus, with Opera, all of my messages are in one place on the sidebar. All of the messages from Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Telegram are all integrated into quick access and beautiful little side tabs. Easy peasy. Also, Opera's new AI tool, Aria, is great at helping me summarize information, give me convenient and comprehensive results in seconds. So download Opera today and head into the new year with the best browser for all of your needs. Be sure to check them out in the link in the description below. Back to the video. But I will say, I did ask my mom for a Rhapsody. I couldn't afford an iPod because the iPods used to have those big brick ones. And I was really fucking jealous because my buddy Anthony, if you're watching this video, Anthony, you know who you are. He had those giant brick fucking iPods, but he had every Lord of the Rings movie on it. And he'd been watching them in school and I wanted to fucking kill myself. Fuck you, Nick. You know what I had the Rhapsody, dude. My mom got me a Rhapsody and it played videos, and it came with 3 All-American Reject songs, I'm pretty sure. So that one song was like, when darkness turns to light, it ends tonight. Whatever, doesn't matter. Let's go back another 2